G'day everyone, welcome back to another devlog for WizardChess. My name as always is Ben, and yeah, let's get straight into it because there's a lot to cover today. So, as you can probably see by this title slide, we got some cool new key art here, and that's because we have a cool new biome in the game. So, Devlog 17, I think I counted this correctly. This is 0.6.0, so we are steadily marching towards version 1, and I believe it is March 2023. I hope I'm right about that. So, heaps to fit in today. Before we get into that, I want to talk quickly about the review situation. So thank you to anyone who has left a review since the last devlog. Some of you did come through after I asked you to leave a review if you've played the game and had a good experience. Thank you. It really, really helps our discovery on Steam and for more people to play the game and to even just understand if other people are enjoying it, you know, the main purpose of reviews. So if you've bought the game and haven't left a review on Steam yet, but you have had a good time, please consider leaving a positive review. If you haven't had a good time, please tell me, and then I'll try and make the game better. That's what we're trying to do here. So, today, desert biome. That's the main thing we're going to cover. That has a few different constituent parts, like mazes, trade offers, and the boss itself. We're going to go over all this. We're also going to talk about the Codex Browser, which is a new help feature. There's some changes to the mountain biome, some new enemies, and some progression and difficulty changes, as well as some rebalances for both the Archer and the Lancer. Combine the words together. So I'm sure some people watching have probably already got strong views about the last part of this, but that's why it's at the end. You got to wait until you can get angry at me for making all the units weaker. So, first up, desert biome. So when you launch the game now, you won't immediately see a new opponent on the title screen. You need to beat Cormag at rank G, or well, I mean the highest rank that you could get Cormag to before. But basically, if you beat Cormag one more time from your previous save file, you should unlock this opponent. I have tested this, but if it doesn't work, please do tell me. So yeah, if you are just playing through for the first time from a blank save file, you will just unlock Huss, the snake here, as soon as you get Cormag to the appropriate skill and defeat them. If you've already got Cormag maxed out on your previous save file, the limit on how high you can rank up opponents has been moved, so beating Cormag once more will unlock this. Yeah, kind of an important little announcement if you're a long-term player. So, what makes the desert, apart from the sand and the snake? We also have some new encounter types, like this one in front of us at the beginning here, which is a challenge room. It's a maze. So, what are mazes? Let's have a look. So, mazes, basically, it's a risk-reward scenario. You can gamble one of your units to try and get some treasure. So what you want to do when you get in, you'll find your least fatigued unit gets dropped down in the middle of the room, and you want to get to these chests. And you'll see when I open this chest, suddenly the room shakes, some of the floor tiles start wobbling, and you'll notice with each additional move that I make, more tiles start wobbling, and some of them start wobbling more intensely. Opening this chest will unlock the doors, and I can just run away if I want to do that, which I'm going to do here. But we will reload this room and do another maze in a sec to show you what happens if you don't get away. So instead here, another room. These are randomly generated, by the way, like fully procedurally generated. You want to get to the white chest to unlock the doors. You want to get the yellow chest to get rewards. You see here, once again, opening a chest, all the tiles start shaking. And now I'm kind of on a countdown where if I take too long or I move in ways that are non-optimal, more and more of the tiles will fall away here, as you can see. And eventually, this is going to result in me getting pretty stuck, as you'll see. It gets pretty full on once you've started opening the chests. So the amount of floor that falls away is proportional to how many moves you make, how far you move. You have to be quite clever to get everything in an amazing counter. But if you lose your unit, as we did here, you still get the rewards. So you can choose to play pretty risky and just try and get as many rewards as possible and lose your unit, or you can try and play for pure profit, but you won't get as many chests. The theme, I suppose conceptually, of the desert biome sort of revolves around this: get a bunch of rewards, and then maybe either lose those units or, using other encounters, refine down your party to a particular build. And one of the ways that you can refine down the party is another new encounter type we've got in the desert, which is the big trade offer. Sorry. So, trade offers have already been in the game for a while. They allow you to swap one unit for another in the existing mountains versions. Here, you can also swap units for multi-target upgrades. So, in this room, I might just rewind this because I didn't mention it yet. So you see here when we come in, there's 3 upgrades for Javelinas, and every Javelina you have is affected by these. So I can sacrifice this Merc, and this Javelina will get boosted by 2 attack. And then once again, I could sacrifice, say, this dog in this pit and then boost this javeliner up. So not a very like smart set of decisions I'm making in this particular clip because this isn't great value, but I'm demonstrating. So there's different kinds of things here. So there's class-specific upgrades, there's element-specific upgrades, and there's also upgrades that let you change the element of a unit. So this is some stuff we've been working on in the background, and this will play a big role in the Fey biome as well. But there's a way here where you can sort of like build up your party, and then if you have any extra units, you can get rid of them to strengthen and sort of consolidate your existing build. This is really important if you want to actually beat the boss. This is just some demo footage of me fighting the boss. I think I actually win in this fight eventually, but we'll see. The boss format for the snake is not too different to Cormag. There are 3 shield orbs now in the snake boss, and as part of this patch, we've also got a new change. You saw it there. The shield orbs sometimes move around randomly of their own accord. This is like a good balance fix, in my opinion, where the shield orbs were literally sitting ducks in the past, and if you just had a big beefy unit, you're just really marching around the map as quickly as possible to hit them, which only make it a bit more of a dynamic problem. I actually still kind of roll this encounter because I have these super strong rogue and javelinas here, but yeah, the way the snake boss works is that you got to take out the orbs. There's the snake down here. If you kill some of these units, you'll notice the snake starts laying eggs, and these eggs start hatching into snakes. And this is kind of the mechanic, is that this boss will just keep generating enemies until you get rid of the orbs and kill it, or if you can keep all the enemies around, maybe it won't lay so many eggs. Anyway, I don't want to show too much of the boss fight off because obviously I want everyone to experience it for themselves. The main change I want to talk about is just that the shield orbs move randomly. This applies to not just the snake, but also to Cormag. Like, all the boss's shield orbs will now jump around. It's involved in the rebalances for the Lancer and the Archer as well as to why this is a useful change, but I'll talk about that when I talk about those changes. So, that's the desert biome in a nutshell. It obviously still has normal combat, and the desert encounters is built quite differently. There's lots of new enemies. I'm just not going to talk about all that in the devlog because we'll be here for an hour, so please just check the game out. We've put a lot of work into this update, like a lot. Cool, so more work for this update. The Codex Browser. We've had these Codex entries here in the game for a while now. They're a big part of the tutorial, and when you get to a new kind of encounter, you'll be presented with one of these as well, explaining how it works. So now there's also this browser you can open by hitting the button in the top right corner, and it shows every single concept that you've been taught about so far and every unit you've encountered, controlled, etc. And you can see them all in one place. Really early days on this thing. It's like minimum viable product level for sure. It's kind of janky, but I think it's really useful to be able to review all this stuff, and as you play the game, this is just going to get bigger and bigger and more complete. There's also this entry at the top of the list here, which I just click in the start of the clip here. This one is automatically selected based on the context you're in. So I'm in a shop, that's why shops are at the top. If I'm in a maze, mazes will be at the top. So if you've dismissed the tutorial thing and you're like, how does this work again? You should be able to press this button and get back to the information for anything you've ever been shown before. So happy with this, wanted to do it for a long time. It's been slipping through the priority, but like I just wanted to get some version of it in, and we have one now. So I think that's a win. Okay. Oh yeah, the compass is rolled into this too. So we added this thing in the bottom right corner, which is the compass indicator. This just allows you to understand the orientation of the map when you're changing between perspectives and rotating. It's mostly for backseating. We've noticed that if I'm streaming the game and Ricky's watching me play, it's very hard to say move this unit to here because there's no coordinate system that you can easily read out. So Ricky will say move your unit to the north now, which is a much easier thing to read out with this indicator. That's not really the point of the video I'm showing you. The video I'm showing you is also that we have these 2 new units in here. So this is a double whammy. In the mountains now, when you have ranked Cormag up sufficiently, you will unlock the ability for the Knoel, this little guy here, and the lion to spawn. So I get out all this compass skipping stuff. I see what I was doing before now. So a Knoel is a lot like a gnome, which is an enemy that's already in the game, except that whenever a Knoel moves, they'll gain 1 attack up to a number of skill points they have. Lions are slightly different. The lion, when they do not attack any unit, their attack will increase and their skill will go down by 1, I think it is. What does that description say? I might be wrong about that. Oh no, that's it. Yeah, yeah. So each time the lion does not attack, each turn it will get a +1 buff. But after it has done 4 attacks, its attack will drop to 0. So the lion is this strange format where like the longer it goes without attacking, the more dangerous it is. The Knoel is a strange format where the more you let it move, the more dangerous it is. The idea of both of these is they add some form of tempo management to the encounter in different ways. So when you spawn in, neither of these are particularly big threats, but you see, by the time that this guy got over here, he just took out my Javeliner immediately. The lion's quite different. It's not as strong in the situation we find ourselves in, although I'm getting kind of wrecked here still. The Knoel is nasty. A high-level Knoel can do a lot of damage. Yeah, look at this, right? Like with each move, it's just getting stronger. So there's a real incentive to deal with these things immediately. That's all to say, basically, we're still going to continue making the existing biomes harder and add to that ceiling. So we have a lot of plans for how to make the game harder and harder and harder the more you play and the more you rank up the boss. This is the start of that. Expect more. There you go. That's pretty much it. Next, Archer Rebalance. So this is probably going to be divisive because we've had messages from people in the community saying that the Archer is both incredibly overpowered and incredibly underpowered. I agree with both of them, even though they're like literally contradictory statements, because like, obviously the Archer can't move. That's intentional. It makes it very, very hard to use it like effectively in the way you use the other units. That's also intentional. It's supposed to be difficult to use the Archer. You can move it using the Monk and some other ways of doing that. It's not easy, but once again, it's not supposed to be. Now, the overpowered part of the Archer, I think, is the more interesting thing to talk about, where if you crank up the Archer's stats, just high attack, high defense, high skill, it's just insane, because it can shoot any square on the map, and it has, like, it's not going to get attacked in response, and if its attack is high, it can often solo units. So that's not a good build, in my opinion. It takes away from what the Archer is, which is a ranged support unit. And so, now to talk about this clip in front of you. Historically, the Archer has had a attack radius of their skill, and they could shoot anywhere within it. Now they can shoot at a ring determined by their skill. And you might have lots of things about this, so lots of questions about this being like, how can this possibly work? I'll show you. So this is an Archer with 4 skill, and this is what the ring looks like. Next, here is an Archer with 6 skill, and you can see what the ring looks like. So you can see it's pushed way out. It's much less useful in terms of raw number of squares targeted, but it's actually shooting at a very useful distance for defending yourself. So this is, it seems bad, but if you keep going past this, you might think, oh, but the ring's just going to go off the edge of the map, right? You'll see here on the 8 skill iteration, it actually wraps around once it gets to a certain point. And now I can target the far corners of the map or these squares close to me. And the way to think about this is like, well, the way I'm thinking about this is like ripples coming off of like a central drop into the water. These rings come out from the center of the Archer, and depending on their skill, like the ring distance will be out here, and then a new ring will form if that first ring is far enough away. So this means if you have 12, 16 skill or whatever, these are crazy numbers, you get a benefit from doing it. Still, you can shoot more of the map, but you can't just shoot the entire map, which is what we think the core problem with the Archer was. There's too many squares available for targeting. This isn't to say that we won't rebalance things again. I reserve all right to change my mind about literally anything all the time, but this, in my testing and in my experience, this keeps the Archer strong, but fixes the core exploit. It works really nicely with that change we made to the shield orbs, where if they hop one square adjacent from where they'd been sitting, then the Archer can't shoot them necessarily from turn to turn. They might hop in or out of range, which adds this extra element of like prioritization instead of just sniping the shield orbs with your Archer. It's very, very rare, almost impossible, to be able to shoot all of the orbs within a strong Archer now, and that is what we wanted to prevent. So, more thinking will go into this, obviously, but we've worked on this quite a bit, and I think this is one of the better solutions we could have come up with. I think it's still fun, but balance is not usually that fun when you've been used to it being OP. Okay, on the other direction, the Lancer got better in this update. So, what's different? Let me just... Whoops, I just went straight forward to the changelog. What's different on this one? You can see, so this looks normal here, charging down here and moving to the edge, but, well, apart from charging at empty squares, which is one of the changes. The Lancer can charge at empty squares now, which is a big mobility increase, but also you'll see here, When I hover over any of these 3 pink squares, all 3 light up in red. And what this is trying to tell me is that it doesn't matter which one I pick, my Lancer is going to go to the furthest one. So you see here, if I click on this near one, it doesn't matter, but I'll go straight past it and hit the wall. This is how the Lancer is going to work from now on, is that they always go as far as they can go. And this means that you won't stop short of charging into an enemy, even if you wanted to, like the way you could in the past sometimes. You still can't charge your allies, so that part is pretty much unchanged. But yeah, this actually just makes it like zero thought to play with the Lancer, in my opinion. Like, it makes it do what you'd almost expect intuitively, unless, of course, you were used to the old way. And it makes it so much more powerful for maneuvering around, where you can zip across the whole map in a couple of moves. This just wasn't doable before, and the Lancer had really poor utility in some maps and some situations because of that mobility. So I think this is a big improvement. Once again, it's just dialing these things in as we keep adding all these other mechanics is going to be an iterative process. Please be patient with us. Sometimes we will make changes that we might not have thought through to the ultimate extent, and maybe there's some intersection with other mechanics. Like, we'll fix it. We're going to try and make all of the core units as balanced against each other as possible. That's the goal. I think we're doing an okay job. We're probably not 100% of the way there yet. Okay, so now, this is the full changelog. I've pretty much talked about all of the major things here. There's some other things behind the scenes, like, what's one I can call out here? Oh yeah, music. We have a lot of new music in this update. There's not really anything to show you, unfortunately, regarding music, because sound. But Jums, our wonderful composer, has done a bunch of new tracks, some variants on tracks that we already had, as well as some new ones. And I've kind of worked that in so that, like, when you go to the shops, there's a unique track there. All the quality of the tracks in the game should have been improved from the previous update as well. And it should all be sounding great. So yeah, hopefully you will enjoy that. There's also, we moved all the dialogue to a spreadsheet. That's a pretty inside baseball bit of information, but that was fun. A bunch of new traits are in the game. You can unlock these in shops the way that you've been able to already. There's not going to be a lot of unlocking traits in the desert because there's not a lot of shops. So if you want to grind these out, I recommend playing on the mountains, I guess. I don't know if I recommend grinding, but there you go. We've also got, oh yeah, the monk can no longer swap his shield orbs. This is another broken thing, not worth putting a video in of, but yeah, it helps a lot. There's new AI tactics for the opponents at higher ranks and for the units. So this is kind of hard for you to be able to see as a player, but the opponent does get smarter and has a wider array of moves available to them the more they've been leveled up. It's not just superficial, like, there's quite a lot of depth in the progression, and we're continuing to make it deeper. And then, yeah, most of this is just bug fixes apart from that. So you can read this if you want to. We won't dwell any longer. Roadmap, what's coming up next? So this is actually looking a little bit simpler than the last time I showed it to everyone. So I'm pretty happy about that. We're working a lot on this idea of, like, what is progression, right? What happens as you continue to rank up bosses? How does it change? How does it evolve so that it stays interesting? How do you unlock new content? Still lots of things up in the air, but we're getting into more of a design for that. Enemies are just always on here now because that's part of progression. Like, we'll have to add more enemies, enemy variants, more challenging enemies. And we've pretty much shifted our focus to the next biome, the Fey biome, and the boss of the Fey biome in terms of design. We're a fair way into this already, so I'm hopeful we'll be able to share some of where we're up to soon, you know, on Twitter, Discord, etc. New Game Plus is not the right terminology to use, probably. What the idea of what this is going to be is that when you beat the boss, you might be able to play through the run again, bringing some of your units with you and playing like a really hard version of the run. And we're calling that looping internally, not New Game Plus, so I sort of just typoed this, I guess. I might have copied it from an old one. That's in the distance. We're not doing that yet, but we're thinking about that and designing how it's going to work, because we want there to be a really long tail on this game. Not a deliberately long tail as in, like, I'm going to make you grind for hundreds of hours for the content, but if you really want to keep playing and keep increasing the challenge, then I want you to be able to do that. You should be able to play it practically indefinitely, making it harder and harder until you can't do it anymore, if that's what you want. So that's kind of our vision for where things are going, is sort of the absurdity of the game can just keep being dialed up more and more and more the number of times you beat the boss and then loop around again. Hopefully more to say on that soon. So until we have more to say about that, that brings us pretty much to the end. So thanks for sticking with me throughout the whole video. I talked fast in this one. We got it, what, we're 20 minutes now, which keeping it roughly in time, close enough. Please subscribe if you want to see any more devlogs and updates in the future. If the game looks cool to you, this is a great time to buy it because it's on sale for 25% off at the time of this update. Is that how I want to say this? I can't speak anymore. Sorry, my brain stopped working. Please buy the game. Then I can afford food and a house and I can sleep and my brain will work properly. If you'd like to report any bugs or just chat about the game or chat to me about anything really, you can join our Discord. That's down in the description. And yeah, you can follow the game on Twitter. You can join our mailing list. You can scan these QR codes. Everything's here. I'm just giving the big plug. Please play my game. Everything should be linked down in the description, assuming I've done the right thing. And I think that's everything for today. So yeah, once again, thank you for keeping up with the development. It's been pretty crazy getting this update out, actually. I'll say this at the end, I guess, because then it won't bore everyone in the intro. We had a few things conspiring against us here. I've had some changes to like my employment situation, so I've taken a new role to actually support myself, which cuts down time for the game a little bit. So that's, I mean, on one level that's unfortunate, on another it's good because it means that like I don't have to worry about the financial side of things. So far I'm juggling those two projects pretty well. It's not always going to be easy, but that kind of got combined with a busy season on Steam, meaning we couldn't release this update when we wanted to originally, and then I got COVID, and so, I mean, I'm still recovering from that, to be honest. I'm not 100% yet. So yeah, it's been a little bit of a journey to get here, and that's why there's so much stuff in this update too, because we kept working even though we were getting things pushed back in terms of the actual date we could deliver it. But I'm just glad to get it out there, and I'm really excited to see what everyone thinks of this update. I think it makes the game much bigger, but also just much more complete. You can probably see a much clearer vision of where we're going and where we plan for things to go based on this build. So yeah, really happy with the progress as always. And I guess it's a good time to say thank you to all of the people involved in this. Like, I am doing a lot of the work here, obviously. Like, I do all the programming, I do almost all of the art. Ricky does almost all of the design and all of the dialogue writing, and we work together on the game. But Graham, our publisher from Two Left Thumbs, is doing a huge amount of work behind the scenes, helping coordinate Figburn and Jums, who are both doing great work. Figburn on the art, Jums on the music. I'm just really thankful to have a bunch of talented people who are happy to work with us on this game. So, yeah. Shouts out to them. Anyway, now I have talked for long enough. Let's keep it under 25 minutes. Just barely. And yeah, peace out. I'll catch you in the next one. Hope you have a great day.